Hey, it's Jang here from UltimateRC.com, and this is my review of the Team Durango DEST210 1/10 scale two-wheel drive electric stadium truck. They first released this as a kit, but this is the more recent release of an RTR, a race-ready RTR. Now, on the topic of race readiness, this is really exciting for me because I started out my RC career, if you will, racing a two-wheel drive stadium truck, and I haven't driven a stadium truck for the specific purpose of getting around a racetrack as quickly as possible in many, many years. I like driving RCs that are a little different from the status quo, and I don't have a lot of time to build kits nowadays, which is why this was really appealing to me. Though this is an RTR, it's not super stripped down like most RTRs are. It has the full race spec hard anodized big bore aluminum threaded body shocks, plus all the tuning and geometry options that you could possibly ask for, plus a little. In addition to the regular shock mounting and camber link options that you normally get with race kits, this one comes with the option to change your front caster angle, you've got droop adjustments, and the ability to change rear kick-up and toe without buying new parts. The ESC is a Speed Passion Certix just stock. It's a Blinky class ESC with no timing available. The motor is a closed end bell 13.5. This has no mechanical timing adjustability, but you do see a shrouded sensor cable there. This is a censored motor. The tires they give you on the RTR have a sensible tread. The fronts are directional ribs that look like Proline edges, and the rears have miniature pins, with the center pins being merged together in pairs. The rubber is fairly thin and pliable, but the rubber compound is a little bit on the hard side. The radio is remarkably unimpressive for a race-specific kit. This is essentially a FlySky FSGT2. I've used a ton of these and they work just fine, but features are really limited. They give you reversing, trims, and steering dual rate. The extra parts bag that comes with this RTR has an amazing selection of little things, but on closer inspection a lot of these things are specific to the short course version and the buggy version of the 210. I was especially disappointed to find out that the inline axle options that are included here are only for the buggy. Box stock, the DEST210 RTR tops out at 26 miles per hour in a straight line. If you don't race, then don't laugh and don't scoff. This truck is every bit as fast as the race-tuned 17.5 non-ramping buggies, and the motor is handily under-geared out of the box. Suspension is badly under-dampened and a little bit undersprung up front too. Very mushy. The tires, not surprisingly, don't work well on a hard, dry surface. On our indoor track with slightly damp clay, the tires were actually kinda usable. Not for racing, not by any means, but for driving that first battery pack to just get a feel for what's wrong with the setup of the vehicle for your specific track. After that, if you're a racer, even in a novice class, you definitely want to get rid of those tires. Be sure to save your wheels though, you can always reuse those. In box stock form, my lap times were in the mid-19 second range on this track, and that's really slow. Aside from the mediocre tires and the mediocre shock setup that probably won't be good for anything but a very bumpy track, I had trouble getting the front wheels to point in the direction I wanted them to go. It's most noticeable in the high-speed left-hand turn that's coming up right here. It looks like I'm yanking the steering left to right as if I'm correcting very quickly, but it's actually just the extremely soft servo saver that simply does not want to hold. The servo saver is the horn, so it's not adjustable, and the only way to fix it is to replace it or get rid of it altogether. My first tuning change was simply to change out the tires, nothing else. This gave me a usable baseline for performance, from which I could figure out what tuning changes I wanted to make to the suspension. With new tires, the car was easier and a little bit more consistent to drive, but lap times were still mostly in the low 19-second range. Next, I stiffened up my shock oil a little bit, but more importantly, I got rid of that stock servo saver and replaced it with a straight horn, which is included in the kit. That got rid of about half of the problem with steering, but I did notice that there was still some wobbling of those front wheels in the big sweeper on the left-hand side. Nevertheless, lap times were improving dramatically. I was able to get into the very low 18-second range. On the negative side of things, it took less than one battery pack before the stock servo stripped. With all plastic gears, it really needed that very generous and soft servo saver. It was time for another upgrade, and this time around I really wanted to get rid of the last bit of that wobbliness of the wheels. The slop was in the steering bell cranks, so I replaced those with these aftermarket ones from Exotech Racing. These were a drop-in replacement and they worked great, leaving me with only slop in the stock ball ends. A metal-geared Airtronics high-speed servo would handle the turning duties without a servo saver. While making an order from Exotech, I also added in this chassis weight, which is a direct bolt-in item, and it cost a third as much as the Durango equivalent. Back out on the track, handling was again improved, especially in that big turn, but with things tightened up in the steering department, I was able to confirm a problem in low speed turning. The ESC has a programmable drag brake setting in it, and I turned some on, but sometimes that drag brake would not engage when I would let off the throttle. Other times it would. As it turned out, the neutral point on my radio was actually drifting. Investigating further, I noticed that I wasn't always getting full throttle. With the trigger fully squeezed, if I pulled it towards my palm just a little bit, I would get full throttle, but if I pushed my finger away just a little bit, still keeping it fully squeezed in, RPMs would drop. To get consistent performance, all I could do was swap out my radio. In my most recent testing session, with all these changes made plus a few more tuning changes, and with the luxury of just driving and not filming at the same time, I was able to throw down some 17.5 second lap times, with even some 17.2s thrown in. That's fast enough to be a factor in the front half of the field of local racing. So, it seems like the DEST210 is a good truck and it's definitely raceable. However, the race-ready RTR really isn't race-ready. The tires gotta go. The servo's gotta go. If your local track doesn't have a spec class using this specific 13.5 no timing motor, the motor's gotta go. The bell cranks should be updated. You might have better luck with the radio than I did, but no matter what, for racing you want something better. If you like what you see in this truck, go straight for the kit. Using better electronics and tires right from the start will immediately save you a bunch of money. That's it for this review. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.